Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. These are your notes for lesson 2.7% of change. Okay, so you just finished up notes on ratios and proportions. Okay, so now we're going to move into percents. Just a few things to remind you about percents. Percent is a part of a whole. Okay, so when you get a percent on your test, basically you get a percent of questions that you get right out of the whole test. So for example, if you get an 85, that means you got 85% correct out of the entire test. And percents are always out of 100. Okay, it's always comparing it to a 100%. So we have that to look at. Then we also have something we're going to calculate today called the percent of change. Basically is how much did something go up or down? Not how much as in our class increased by 2 kids or your score increased by 12 points. It's by what percent did it change? So maybe gas prices go up by 30%. That doesn't mean it goes up 30 cents. It goes up by 30% compared to the original. Or maybe the soccer team scores 50% more goals than they did last year. That doesn't mean the soccer team scores 50 goals. It means they score 50% more. So when you're calculating the percent of change, you're going to do the change over the original. And I need to ask you how you find the change in something. Okay, typically when you find the change in something, you are going to subtract. Okay, so you can make a note of that there. Okay, we are going to go ahead and start with something a little bit different. Then we'll come back to this percent of change idea. All right, so take a look at your handout. The most common place you guys will find percents is when you're purchasing things. Whether you know it or not, everything that you purchase besides food is taxed. And that tax money goes towards different things. It goes towards your firefighters and your police officers. It goes towards government agencies, fixing roads. Your taxes go to both the state and your county. So by county, you could have different tax rates. So that's why you see here in number 1, my tax is 6%, where in number 2, the tax is 6.5%. I'll give you some extra credit. If you look up the sales tax for Ottawa, Lucas, and Wood counties, Ottawa, Lucas, and Wood counties, I'll give you some extra credit. So bring it in. And tell me what those tax rates are for those counties. Okay, so let's take a look here. If you are being taxed, that is going to add on to the price of your item. So these concrete blocks are not just going to cost me $95. I have to pay an additional 6%. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this, folks. You can, first of all, take your 6%, and I can't leave this as a regular 6%. I have to move my decimal place 2 spots because these are always out of 100. Percents are out of 100, and 100 has 2 zeros. So we're going to move that decimal place twice to right there, and it'll be 0.06. 6% of $95. And when you do that, you will get $5.70. Now, that is in addition to the $95 that you have already paid for those blocks. So altogether, your bill is going to be $100.70. So that's one way to calculate it. The other way to calculate it is to realize that you're going to pay more than 100% for these blocks. In fact, because I'm getting taxed 6%, I am going to pay 106% of the price for these blocks. So if I move that decimal place 2 spots, it's now 1.06 times those blocks, and that will give you the same $100.70. So it does not matter which way you prefer to do this, whether you prefer to find the tax and then add it, or just find it all together. Number 2, we have a crib, and I'm being taxed 6.5%. So I need to move that decimal place 2 spots to get 0.065 times the $240 for that crib. That gives me a tax of $15.60. Add it to the price of the crib, and you get a final bill of $255.60. Or you can do it in one step. You can say, okay, I'm getting taxed 6.5%. That means I'm going to pay 106.5% of the price of that crib. We'll move that decimal place 2 spots, and you get 1.065 times the $240 will give you the same final bill of $255.60. So it's totally personal preference whether you decide to do this in 2 steps or in 1 step. So that's tax. That makes the price of your item go up. We also could do things called a discount with percentages. Now, anytime I go to Kohl's, there's always 20% off, 30% off. So how does that affect my price? Well, it makes my price go down. Okay, so I am going to look at my discount. I am going to move that 2 spots to 0.05, and I'm going to multiply that towards the $25 of my dry cleaning. That gives me a discount of $1.25. So I need to take that $1.25 and subtract it from the original cost. Gives me a final bill of $23.75. The other way to look at this is I am not paying 100% of my dry cleaning bill. I get a 5% discount, which means I am only going to pay 95%. If I move that decimal 2 spots, I get 0.95 times my dry cleaning will give me a final bill of $23.75. Again, does not matter which way you go about that. Now I'm going to buy some luggage. Well, it's going to be discounted 30%. So if I move that 2 spots, I get 0.30 times my luggage. Gives me a discount of $55.50. Okay, remember, make sure you round to the nearest cent. That is 2 decimal places. So now I'm going to take my luggage and I'm going to subtract the discount, and that gives me a final price of $129.50 for my luggage. Or I can say, okay, I'm not paying 100% for this luggage. Because I have a 30% discount, I'm paying 70% for my luggage. Move that decimal point 2 spots, you get 0.70 times that $185 will give you the same final price of $129.50. Okay, well, when we have a discount, we also are going to be taxed on top of that. So we're going to apply the discount first, and then we will apply the tax. So I'm going to go ahead and do this kind of in the 1-step method that I was showing you earlier. So I'm not paying 100% for this TV. I get a 25% discount, which means I'm only going to pay 75%. Move the decimal 2 spots, I get 0.75 times $3.75. When I do that, I get $281.25. Now I have to apply the tax. So now I have to add 6.5%. So right now my cost is $281. 100% of my cost right now is $281. So now I'm going to add my 6.5% tax on top of it. Move my decimal place 2 spots, I get 1.065 times that discounted amount, and I get a final price of $299.53. Again, make sure we are rounding to 2 decimal places. Okay, now I'm buying a DVD player to go with my TV. I'm not paying 100% of the price. I am getting a 20% discount, so I'm getting 80% of that price. Move it 2 spots, gives me 0.80 times the price of my DVD player. So my discounted amount would be $215.20. Now I'm going to be taxed. So now I need to pay 107% of what I was discounted. Move that 2 spots, gives me 1.07 times $215.20. Be careful when you're rounding here, and you get $230.26. Okay, so that's just kind of our intro into tax and discounts. Let's go ahead and do some percent of change. So go ahead and read number 7 to yourself. We're talking about stocks. The price per share of a stock decreased from $90 per share to $36 per share. By what percent did the price of the stock decrease? So remember the formula I showed you. We're going to do the change over the original. The first thing I need to know is how much did the price change? So if I subtract those 2 numbers, I get it changed by $54. And then I need to compare that to the original price. Well, the original price started at $90. So if you go ahead and you divide that 54 over 90, that gives you 0.6. Now you need to turn that into a percent. Remember, percents are out of 100, and this thing is a decimal already. So you're going to move your decimal 2 spots, and that gives you a 60% decrease. Okay. What that means, 60% is more than 50%. So this stock decreased by more than half of its original price. Moving on, let's take a look at this chart. We've got CDs downloaded and videos. Okay, it says find the percent of change in the number of units sold between 2004 and 2006 and between 2006 and 2008 for each format. Okay, so I basically have 3 formats and I have to do 2 of these problems for each. So I really am going to be doing 6 problems for this. Let's start with my CDs. If I want to do my percent of change from 2004 to 2006, the first thing I need to do is subtract those and figure out how much it changed. If you subtract those, you get 152.10 divided by the original price. Well, the original price would be in 2004, 767, and you will get 0.198. Now remember, we need to change this into a percent. So you're going to move your decimal place 2 spots and you get 19.8%. All right, now we have to do the same thing from 2006 to 2008. So we are going to subtract them and you will see that that changes by 246.5. Divide by the original. Well, here the original would be in 2006, which would be 614.9. If you divide those, you get 0.401. Okay, if I change it into a percentage, it would be 40.1%. Notice here it says we're supposed to be rounding to the nearest tenth on these problems. All right, let's go ahead and do downloaded. Okay, downloaded for 2004 to 2006. To find the change there, you will subtract those, and you should get 447 divided by the original, which is 139.4. If you divide those, you should get 3.207. Now, if you move that decimal place, you get 320.7%. So that went up significantly. Now we're going to go from 2006 to 2008, subtract them to find the change, and you get 456.3 over the original in 2006, which is 586.4. When you divide those, you should get about 0.778. So if I move my decimal, that is 77.8%. All right, finally, let's do video. Video from 2004 to 2006. Subtract to find the change. You get 9.7 over the original in 2004, which is 32.8. When you divide that and move your decimal place over 2 spots, you get 29.6%. And lastly here, we're going to go 2006 to 2008. Subtract to find the change, which is 2.3. Divide by the original in 2006, which is 23.1. When you divide those, then move your decimal, you get about 10.0%. All right. Now part B says, tell whether each is a percent of change as an increase or a decrease. So did it go up or did it go down? So go back, take a look at all of these. If you look at the CDs, they went down from 2004 to 2008, and they went down from 2006 to 2008. It looks like my downloads went up both times, so those will be percents of increase. And it looks like my videos went down both times, so those will be percent of decrease. All right, moving on here. The current price of each share of a technology company is $135. If this represents a 16.2% increase over the past year, what was the price per share a year ago? Well, they're telling me the percent increase. So that's going to be on the other side of my equal sign. And I'm going to need to move that decimal 2 spots. So I have 0.162. Now remember, the change is what goes up top. The change is how much the price has gone up or down. Well, here it says it goes up. So I'm going to take my 135 and I'm going to subtract my x because I don't know how much it went up by. Notice I put the 135 first because I know 135 is going to be the bigger number because it went up. Then I have to divide by the original. Well, I don't know what the original price was a year ago. That's what I used X for. Okay, so X is price a year ago. So now I'm ready to solve this. I'm going to multiply by X on both sides to move that X over. Then I'm going to add an X to both sides. And then I'm going to divide by 1.162. And let's see what we get here. 135 divided by 1.162 gives me, uh-oh, so let's see here, 135 divided by 1.162. All right, gives me a price of $116.18. Sorry about that. My calculator is being a little funny there for a second. Okay, so there we worked our way backwards. They gave me the percent and I needed to work my way backwards. Now, there's another way we can go about doing this. Okay, they gave me the percent. They also are telling me the Garcias have paid $120. So if I want my bill to increase, I can just put that decimal 2 places over and multiply it by the $120 that they're originally paying, and that gives me their new bill, which will be $150. Same idea is going to happen with these ACT scores. You'll see the average score is 21.2. This certain state had a 7.5% higher. So if I move the decimal place 2 spots, I get 0.075. So we're going to round this to the nearest tenth. That means students in Vermont averaged a 22.8 on their ACT score. Okay, so you can go ahead and complete your notes check, and I will see you in the morning.